Hey everyone, I'm Brett Lundquist, and this is Bob Morreale here with the Tuning School.
Hey guys, so on this week's Tech Tuesday, we're going to be discussing the Ford 5.2-liter engines, specifically those in the Mustang Shelby GT350 and the new GT500. Hey guys, welcome back. So let's start with the Shelby GT350, one of my favorite cars. There it is. Brett, tell us about it.
Well, the Shelby GT350 has the Voodoo 5.2 liter. It makes about 526 horsepower at a screaming 7,500 RPMs and 429 foot-pounds of torque at around 4,750. One of my favorite features in this car is it's got a flat plane crank, which makes a really nice exhaust note. Definitely a really high revving engine, especially for a V8, 8,250 RPMs. Now it's got a little higher compression ratio than most vehicles, 12:1, and it only comes in a manual transmission.
The way it should be.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So how would you describe this car, the ideal customer for this car? Who is this guy?
This is more of a purist type of vehicle. This is like that track only, I gotta have a manual guy, I've got a light vehicle. It's lighter than the GT500 at 3,800 pounds, high revving. It's kind of it evokes a different emotion whenever you have a vehicle like that. It's also in regards to versing it against the GT500, because I think that's what we're doing. It has better fuel economy, it's lighter, it's a little cheaper to get. So, that customer is gonna come in, around those types of situations.
So the guy that wants to do more of a weekend road course would be a GT350 customer. Car shows, drag strip, how would you rate it on those things? Daily driving?
I mean, it's a really good looking vehicle. So, car shows, you can bring it anywhere. Everyone's gonna look at it. Drag strip, being a manual, it's probably kind of out of its element now these days. Everything's automatic, they shift faster. It's gonna be one of those track, bring it out on the weekends, have some fun, tear up a couple twisties in the back roads, that kind of car.
So road course, twisties, back road, real enthusiast car, so you're in touch with the car. So you would call this more like a scalpel than a sledgehammer?
I agree with that.
Okay, so,
absolutely.
So let's go with that. So how about some of the cons? Give me some downsides to this thing.
I had a hard time trying to figure these things out, but if we're talking about versus the new GT500,
right,
it's slower.
Right.
Who doesn't want to go fast?
This is true.
So when it comes down to it, it's not as quick as its bigger brother, but it comes at a lower price point. So, kind of understood that it's going to be a little slower.
So on a road course though, when you think about it, what it's really designed for, naturally aspirated, tends to be the thing because of heat issues with superchargers. ZR1 Corvette, Z06 Corvette, those are good examples of cars that are phenomenal, powerful cars, but get them on a road course, tend to have some heat issues.
I completely agree there. That's going to be a kind of a caveat of the GT500. But some of the better things about the GT500, it's got the new Predator 5.2, makes a whopping 760 horsepower at 7,300 RPM. So, it's
still
spinning.
Up there.
Yeah. And 625 foot-pounds of torque. Yeah. That's more than some of the diesels, Yeah. So you got tons of power, tons of torque. Now they went back to a cross-plane crank.
Right.
Probably for strength.
Yeah.
It's a little lower revving. It's gonna spin out around 7,500 RPMs.
Still, that's pretty high.
Of course.
Yeah.
And to get that boost in there, they had to lower the compression. Yeah. So they're around a 9.5:1.
Yep.
Now, one of the things, I haven't driven one of the things everyone talks about is that dual clutch transmission. Right. 7 speeds, it's lightning quick.
Yep.
So, I don't know, it's kind of a jack of all trades too.
It is.
It's a great sledgehammer.
It is, it's a sled, but see, that's a great definition for that car from what I understand, because my only point of comparison for a DCT, dual clutch, is our C8 Corvette at the tuning school here. It's fantastic, it's fast, it's amazing, but it is not a manual transmission. I know it is, but it isn't, but I mean in terms of connectedness, as an enthusiast level, is it a phenomenal car with a great transmission? Absolutely. I'm assuming it's similar with a GT500. It's a very similar transmission.
Right,
Dual clutch to dual clutch. It's fast.
Lightning quick.
Power?
Well, if you're going to compare it back to the GT350 like we were, it's got 234 more horsepower, 196 more torque. It's got an Eaton TVS Roots blower running around 12 PSI. Yep. Again, we just talked about that 7-speed, 80 millisecond shifts. Yeah. So, I love a manual transmission. I know that's the purest way to go. I've got an old Beamer myself that, it's manual, had to be manual. There was, an M3. And it's that connectedness. Yeah. But end of the day, if you're going to the drag strip, the track, the circuit, the grocery store, that automatic's probably a lot more livable.
It is, for sure.
Yeah.
And so what are some of those downsides of that GT500?
I would think, the cost.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not cheap. However, I think they're pretty fairly priced. You know, if you don't option them out like crazy, you can get into them pretty well, but they're more expensive and they're a little heavy. Yeah. You know, 400 more pounds, it doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a lot of weight. So, you know, other than that, I had a hard time coming up with cons for this too, because it's such a great vehicle. Yeah. You know, some people would say the styling's a little overdone, a little overcooked. I disagree. I think it is what it is. It's a menacing looking vehicle.
Sure.
So.
Sure.
Anyway.
And so is it really just coming down to such a difference is the boost? Is that really what this comes back to?
Well, I'm sure they have different internals that make up, you know, a little bit difference in like the rotating assembly, the pistons, the rods, maybe the heads themselves. But really, if you're just taking 5.2 to 5.2, it's boost. You know, adding a blower to that setup, you know, obviously they changed the crank, they changed other things, but boost is really what got it there. Sure. And these things are just phenomenal. Now, you could take a GT350 though and add boost and make more power if you wanted to. So, I mean, it just depends on which way you want to go. You could save 15, 20 grand on a GT350, add boost, and you'd have more power if you wanted.
But did you just lose your scalpel and make it a sledgehammer?
You did.
So we're back to the beginning again.
I like driving a sledgehammer.
Now all right, I get it.
It's frightening and it's fun.
It's frightening and fun. And sometimes you need a scalpel.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, man. That's good. All right, Brett, so final question. We're gonna play a game. It's gonna be called Which is Better?
All right.
Okay, so it's a scenario, and you gotta tell me which is better in that scenario, GT350, GT500.
Okay.
I can't even say them both at the same time. All right, so street driver.
I'm gonna go with the GT500.
Okay.
Automatic, easier to just get in and drive. Anybody can drive it.
Okay.
Put it in D and go.
Okay, got it. And how about drag race?
GT500.
Okay, why?
Automatic.
I'm hearing the same issues, the same reasons all over again. And to be fair, if I were to answer these questions, I think I would have said GT350, GT350,
I mean,
GT350, but not for the drag strip perhaps, but everything else.
If you want the faster vehicle, the easier way out, I mean, let's just face it, you just put it in drag or track and launch that bad boy.
Road course.
That one's a little tougher for me. I lean towards both of them, but I think the GT500 still would win a little bit. It's gonna have it on the longer straights, it's gonna have the bigger brakes, it's gonna stop a little better. I'm not saying the GT350 is not a good car. It's a phenomenal car, but if I'm just talking on a piece of paper, GT500 still.
So I watched the Tune Media interview where they talked to the guy that designed the GT500 and they asked him the very difficult questions that we're talking about here. And he did say the GT350 would be, in his opinion, for his personality, a little better in certain circumstances. But he's an enthusiast who likes to carve corners, and I think he's okay with giving up the power. But I'm gonna say you could take that same GT350 and throw a blower on it and save 20 grand. What do you say to that?
I agree with that. Okay. However, I can throw my wife, my grandma, whoever into that GT500.
Your grandma wants to ride in a GT500?
She might.
Okay.
You know, she's pretty cool.
She's pretty cool.
So, you know, put it in drive, put it in a different mode. You know, it could be raining. I don't have to worry about that, you know, clutch or anything. It's just basically jump in and go. And I love a manual transmission, but there's just something about that vehicle being kind of the jack of all trades and then just being all out performance. And yeah, your GT350 might be faster at the end of that. I can do a pulley upgrade. I still have a warranty if I don't touch it.
And the GT350 still has a man pedal.
I
hope you've enjoyed this video. Let us know what Shelby GT you'd rather drive.
And if you're looking for more information about tuning Ford, check out thetuningschool.com, hit follow, subscribe, and like for more notifications on high-performance tuning knowledge. And as always, stay tuned. Hey, I'm Brett Lundquist, and this is Bob Morreale here with the Tuning School.
Hey, I'm Bob. That's Brett.
And on every other doing good. I was doing good.
Come on, talent.
I messed that up right off the bat. Right off the bat. Those acting classes I never took are really
gosh, wah.